Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I forgot to unmute myself there for a second. Sorry. It's been one of those days, but we are here. Happy first day of summer, summer solstice, and happy Father's Day to those of you who celebrate. And yeah, all the things going on all the time. I will try to not keep you here for very long because I know a lot of people want to go out to dinner and stuff like that. So, yeah. As always, during my launch streams, feel free to ask questions and you can mark them with a Q if you want to, but I can usually catch them anyway. But they can be about all of the books, they can be about the races in my books or something like that, or they can be specifically for My Husband Wants to Keep Me Gay, which is launched. Uh, I'm doing this a little late. It was available on June 11th, but things happen, life, it's all good. But we have a James. Happy Father's Day again. First in chat. Rach is a second. The dynamic duo. Well, trio, since Dawn's there with you. And I dropped the links over on the Twitch side since they're not in the description over there, but on YouTube they are in the description if you want to purchase your copy of My Husband Wants to Keep Me Gay or any of the books in this series. The fourth book, My Husband Wants to Keep Me Sated, I'm working on right now, doing the finishing touches on the developmental edits that I want to, aka adding chapters. And I hope to get it edited and out to beta readers by the end of this month, but I'm not quite sure. So we're going to try for like an end of August, end of September launch for that one. And thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know about great here. I try to be impressive. No, not really. But anyway, thank you for joining me. This has been an awesome ride, and we still have more to go because, like I said, the fourth book is going to be out to y'all either August or September. And after that, whenever I get them written, there will be kind of like a second season, and it's going to be called the My Wife Wants series. It's going to be novellas again, and it's going to follow the remainder of the Palms who are not married or with their significant other. So it's going to be Percy, Matthias, and Selick, and it'll also be Rix, who is a character that you will meet in the fourth book more. They have kind of been mentioned a little bit here and there, but you probably, yeah, in passing, a little bit, sort of. We'll leave it at that. So yeah, launch day is a day late. So here is the first book, My Husband Wants to Keep Me Pristine. And the second book, My Husband Wants to Keep Me Dominant. Again, links are down in the chat below if you need to purchase copies of those. They are available in paperback and ebook format. And Pristine, for those of you who do not know, is a dark romantic comedy fantasy. That's a mouthful. It's fun and refreshing, and Verson is the main character, and she wants to make sure that she can get Regis in bed because that's his duty, and he's not fulfilling it for a couple of specific reasons, and she doesn't understand those reasons at all. But they kind of make sense to Regis a little bit, sort of. He fails. My Husband Wants to Keep Me Dominant is the second book in the series. It's a little bit more darker just because Harry had a very traumatic childhood and teenage years. So be wary of that. But it's Harry. For those that have read the series, Harry is the favorite, I do believe. And he is Harry. There's no way to describe him other than just saying his name, honestly. But yeah, there are trigger warnings for death, gore, incest, all that good stuff, and of course BDSM. and My Husband Wants to Keep Me Dominant. Now, for My Husband Wants to Keep Me Gay, it's a little bit on the lighter side. There are still flashbacks to the past when Fedric and Harry were teenagers, and well, Regis too, and they were in the war. But it's not as dark as Harry's book. You finally get to learn a little bit more about Fedric and Doxy. I think you do see Fedric naked more in his own book, so that's a good thing. He doesn't struggle too awful much with Doxy's, miscommunication and stumbling and stuttering and running away from him. And I will be reading some passages from this book. And you will be able to choose some pages or passages, chapters if you want to. But yeah, these are AI images. They are not, they were made in Canva. So whatever tools they use, that's the tools that happened during the making of these. But My Husband Wants to Keep Me Gay has the tropes of age gap, experience with naive, miscommunication. Everyone knows, but they don't. And flashbacks. Fedric has never had anyone confuse him or keeping trailing after them as long as Doxy has. It's 2 years. 2 full years of Fedric struggling with this man. And why is Doxy the only one who doesn't want him? Now, granted, there's Bertrand who doesn't want anybody, and he hasn't had Slaith either. And there was one other person, Ryla, who did not want him, but he can never have her. And Doxy, he's always put the 6. They were the 6 before he joined. He's always put them on a pedestal. So to him, they're like godlike creatures. And while he adores Fedric and wants Fedric, he knows that he's no match for Fedric or anybody that Fedric has probably had, aka Harry, aka Regis, aka Charn. Yeah, so he's stuck in his head thinking that he's no match for anything. And here we go. So some of the scenes from My Husband Wants to Keep Me Gay. I know I'm like blowing through this. I'm trying to be quick so y'all can do like your thing for Father's Day. But here's the physical copy. Let's do this right here. But yeah, this is a physical copy. This is my proof copy kind of thing. You can see all the tabs that I were I can read to y'all from, but this is chapter 2. It's one of my favorites because it shows the dichotomy between, or the relationship between Fedric and Charn and Doxy very well. Let me grab a drink of water. Remember to hydrate. All right. So, chapter 2. Be a tease, will you, and make me dream of you again. That's the chapter title. This is odd. Fedric glanced up at Charn, who sat across from him. The broad man was wiping his hands on an apron before discarding it on the table. What is odd? Where are your acolytes? Charn asked, leaning both of his elbows on the table and crossing his arms. This part of the castle, the dining room in particular, was quiet at this time of day. The sun beamed its bright rays through the tall, open windows. A light breeze carried the hint of songbirds among the trees surrounding the estate. Charn's curls stirred. unsettling them from their previous raucous charm to another. Frederick remembered when the man's voice empowered them all, and the moment he'd all but died. Charn didn't think his life worthy without his voice. Fedvik knew otherwise. I wanted to spend time with the best of us. Fedvik made sure not to drip too much sex appeal into his voice. Charn was fast to leave with heavy teasing. Then you should have sat in the kitchen. I dare not. Seeing you in your element is too much for me to bear. He kept Charn's gaze. Charn's lips twisted and he sat back in his chair. With Herrick balls deep and Regis gone to do the same, you're lost, aren't you? I wouldn't mind letting you do it. Charn rolled his eyes. His voice dropped from a high pitch to a harsh whisper after he swallowed. While you may be hard-pressed, I don't need sex every time I drop my pants. Fedvik chuckled and stated, I cannot wait for the day when you fall in love. He meant it with his entire being. The big bear across from him needed something to cradle in those arms. If it happens, his voice rose in pitch again, I doubt I'll be as lucky to have someone keep me that long in bed. His heart ached for the deep baritone and the way Charn's voice warbled now. He was about to say something that would make the other man happy when Doxy strode in. The pup-like man walked stiffly, and his set jaw somehow made the rounded cheeks puff with his slight pout. His heart ached in an entirely different way when Doxy stood over him. Well, hello, Fedvik said, noting how close Doxy was. He peered up at the other man. Hello. Hey, Doxy false started several more times before he took in a deep breath, and the dispersal made his cheeks puff out more. Yes, he wants to eat you, so your nervousness is making him want you more, Charn said, his bright blue eyes flicking back and forth between the two. Fedvik's grin crept out as Doxy's precious face grew red. I hardly want him any more than I always have. Doxy squeezed his eyes shut as his hands fisted at his sides. My brother, Percival, wishes to purchase your services. That last word was ground out between his teeth. Oh? He hoped Percy was purchasing his services for his little brother and not for himself. I told him you were busy, so busy. I think he might need you because you make others feel better about themselves and Percy needs that. He, in fact, does. And if you are acquainted with any ladies who wouldn't mind a few physical flaws, not that he can't perform, he just has this thing that we don't like to talk about. Give him a second and he will tell you everything he remembers from childhood to now, Charn whispered, leaning across the table toward Fedvik and propping his chin up on his palm. But it might turn off some ladies. It'll be rather difficult to find pleasure with that certain flaw rubbing the way it would. If you know anyone, you might introduce them. That would be grand and something that I would prefer you to do instead of fuck my brother. Fedvik stared at Doxy, expecting the rambling to go on once the man caught his breath. He glanced at Charn and saw the same gleam in his eyes. Fedvik turned his attention back to his desire to ask, does your brother prefer me to be more feminine or as I am? Doxy's face turned a darker shade of red as his eyes widened. I don't know that. I think he would like you as you are because you are is perfect and you're very aware of that. Everyone knows it. Percy has made comments here and there about some women and men that we've met and seen, but he's never dated, not that I recall. He has this calmness about him. I think several people mistake for indifference or something like that's what our mother thinks. I heard her talking to father about us one day, but I'm going to get to the point. If you think that there is another son of Gachant nearby that's as good or as pretty as you are and would treat Percy well, please let my brother hire him instead. I think that would be much better for me, for Percy. Percy is the important one here, not me. I didn't say that. I haven't said nothing. Disregard everything. Charn was making the table shake with silent laughter, and it proved to maximize the difficulty of keeping his own amusement locked away. There was another emotion he was wrestling with as well. Hope. Doxy didn't want him to touch Percival. Why? Was Doxy jealous? Or did he think it would be embarrassing for him to see the issue Percy had? Or did Doxy feel as though it would grow an awkwardness between them? Please, for all the gods in their mercy, let it be jealousy. He took too long to say something. Please? Doxy pleaded with his eyes. Do you think you can do that? Do what exactly? Serve your brother, find someone else to serve your brother, or forget this entire conversation and do something else that you're thinking of. All of it, except serve him. Fenwick shot a glare at Charn as his laughter was turning into sounds. Then he stood, leaning over Doxy as the other man took a step back. His fingertips pressed against the smooth surface of the table on either side of Doxy's narrow hips, boxing him in. He leaned in close, tilting his head. He had the ability to kiss Doxy with a simple dip of his chin. And what is it? And what is that something else you want me to do? I, Doxy stammered, his dark eyes darting from Fedrick's forehead, lips, chin to eyes to repeat the pattern. Shall I help you with some words again? Fedrick dropped his voice to the one that made his partner's toes curl as he said, I want you, Fedrick, to sate my every need from this night forward. Doxy's breathy laugh feathered over his neck. Or do you want to say, take me now? Again, Doxy laughed while getting redder in the face and fidgeting all over. Fedrick grunted when Doxy shouldered him out of the way. He steadied himself, watching the man back away, all the while stumbling over half words, sweating, and moving his hands about as if he were trying to mold the air into something to stick between the two of them. He shook his head when Doxy bolted out of the door. I'm with you. I can't tell if he's just awkward and wants you so desperately he doesn't know what to do, or if he hates you. Charn leaned back in his chair, rubbing the stubble on his chin with thick fingers. Maybe you can jump him and see if he gets hard as you do? Fedrick snorted, regarding Charn with raised eyebrows. That's the best you can come up with? Charn lifted a shoulder as he admitted, You're the expert. What do you expect from me? Just fuck me already, Charn. Charn grinned and stood to mimic Doxy's shuffling escape. I like this side of you. There's someone who is not falling on your dick and you're frustrated. Just like the rest of us. Alright, so that shows the dynamic between Charn and Fedrick and Doxy. Doxy is just all over the place. He is Squirrel incarnate. Alright, so if you want me to read from anything, will this do better? No, that will not do better. We'll go back to this way. That way you can hopefully see the pages and chapters. So Gay is 158 pages or 33 chapters. So you feel free to pick chapters or pages. I did just read chapter 2. So that's 21 to 24. So this one is chapter 6. I'm only going to read a little bit. Actually, I might read the whole chapter. Yeah, I'll read the whole chapter. So this is chapter 6. Flustered is the dessert, and whipped is the man. By the time they finished the last course, Doxy had whimpered so much that his throat was raw. The only thing keeping him from opening his mouth and speaking were the triumphant looks Percy kept giving him, and the fact his father was there. So awkward. Weren't they ashamed? Wife, let's allow the children their playtime, the Viscount stated while standing with his dessert bowl and spoon. The Viscountess's bottom lip protruded ever so slightly before she too took up her dish and exited after her husband with swift farewells. By the time his father and mother left, Matthias had already finished his dessert. He got up, bowed to the room, and left too. I should go too, Doxy said, mostly to himself. He really should. Then Fedrick's eyes fell on him, trapping him. He struggled to catch his breath. This is a dangerous situation. Harry leaned back in his chair, a curl to his lips as he situated himself to watch the room with ease. Should we leave the three of them? God's no. Harry gave his wife an incredulous glance. Miss this show? No. Addie giggled, smacking Harry's arm with a shake of her head. Frederick reclined to see all of them as well. It's possible you two are brothers. It's rather uncanny. You even move alike, Percy observed, pointing to the two red heads in the room. How come you didn't fall in love with Harry first? He asked, looking at Doxy. First, Harry? Why would I? That makes no sense. Doxy laughed, hearing himself and mentally cursing the gods as he was as high-pitched as Charn. He scooped up some of the whipped cream and shoved it in. He made the mistake of looking up with the spoon still in his mouth. Fedvik was still looking at him, those sensual lips slightly parted and curved upward. His tongue darted out, touching the corner of his mouth with the tip, then licking his bottom lip. That bottom lip followed the tongue in before Fedvik slowly scraped the plumpness with his front teeth. Why did he have the sensation that he had just come? His eyes remained fixed on the lips as they curved upward more. They formed his name. No, he heard his name, right? He glanced into Fedvik's eyes, and they held gazes for a second before the redhead turned his attention to Percy. He was now lost, devastated. What was that man doing to him? How is your dessert, Percy? How the voice basically purred his brother's name gave him goosebumps. It's delicious. How about yours, Doxy? Flustered. Is it? Fedvik asked, meeting his gaze again and leaning forward. Oh gods, can I be embarrassed for him? Addie leaned into her husband, covering her eyes with one hand but peeking through her fingers at her brothers. You wanted to watch him work, so you've got to be quiet, Harry hissed in her ear, then kissed her temple as he wrapped his arm around her. Doxy felt the usual protectiveness rear up as Harry pawed at his sister. Fedvik, may we discuss why I brought you here? Percy's question drew his attention back to the duo across the table from him. His heart stopped, and time slowed as Fedvik's hand rested on the back of Percy's chair, and he leaned toward him. The gods were unfair. He should go. Of course, your desire is my command, Sir Palm. Percy's smile differed from his usual ones. What did that mean? What was Percy thinking? Why was he... Oh gods, no. Percy's fingers were holding Fedvik's chin. They were looking at one another, so close that... Why were they so close? Why was Percy touching what was his? They were getting closer and closer. He opened his mouth to scream, but Percy turned his head at the last moment. What? What just happened? Fedvik's eyes closed, a softness entering his face as he turned from sex god to listener before Doxy's very eyes. His heart was unable to endure this. His heart was unable to endure this. He was going to collapse and never rise again. They would mark his stone with, "Here lies Doxy Palm, a man who never took what he wanted and died alone with a rabbit for a heart." He sat back in his chair, trying to regulate his breathing and get his face to stop burning. Dessert! It was nice and cool. He sat back up, digging into the whip and ice cream with gusto. Wait, what had he said about dessert? I like you more and more, Percy. Fedvik's tone made Doxy's mind empty, and an image of Fedvik licking his lips like before entered. I'm not sure I should grant your wish with your sister present, though. Oh, I'll be fine, right, dear? Addie waved a hand dismissively. Please say no, Harry, damn it. Doxy thought to himself, not able to take his eyes from his dessert. Yes, mistress. If not, I can carry you out easily enough. Gods, he was lost. He jerked his head up as a chair scraped back. Fedvik got up and glanced around. Are we sure this is the place to be? Let's retire to the drawing room. I'll inform the staff not to bother us, Percy replied, rising from his seat. Doxy watched as the four filed out of the room. He needn't move. Whatever his brother wanted from Fedvik was none of his business. Dox, I'll need your assistance, Fedvik said as he popped his head back into the room. He groaned, failing to hold himself upright any longer. He hit the bowl, and the cool cream covered his face. He sat back up, taking his napkin and wiping off as he got up to follow. Whatever it was, he'd do a fine job. The best job. Once he crossed the hall and entered, Fedvik motioned to a spot beside him. The other three sat down. He strode to the spot, trying his best not to conjure up something wild in his imagination. Whatever it was, he was certain he would not be happy. "Are you well, Dox?" Fedvik asked and touched his face. He touched his face. Doxy froze. Then he watched as time slowed yet again. Fedvik leaned in, trapping his chin between thumb and forefinger, and kept coming. His breath was warm along his jaw. Then he experienced a warmth pressed just beside his earlobe and watched as Fedvik pulled away, a dot of cream on his tongue that quickly disappeared into his mouth. He should pass out. He'd swooned once before. Doxy squeezed his eyes shut, willing himself to go blank, to sleep. Something. "Dox? I am whipped," he hissed, realized what he said, and blinked into the bronzed gaze. I mean, I'm fine." "Yes, you are," Fedvik crooned with a gentle smile. "Now, be a good boy and hold my clothes." "Sure." "Wait, what?" So that's chapter 2. Poor Fedvik. I would say poor Doxy, but he's he's his own worst enemy. So yeah. All right. Let's see what else we got here. All right, so this is chapter 11. Again, feel free to ask for any pages from any of the books or any of the chapters. The way they tease each other and deny the attraction despite that is hilarious to me. Yes. Yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, so chapter 11. This is going to be more of the same, but yeah. You get to see a lot more charm in this book. So, chapter 11, Stairway to Heaven. "What'd you do to the poor kid, Fedvik? You shouldn't hurt someone during sex." Doxy's neck cracked as he swung his gaze toward the high-pitched voice behind him. The hair gripped tight in Fedvik's hand didn't give, and he hissed at the pull. "No sex, not I. What?" He swallowed, trying to regain some semblance of reasoning and vocabulary. When Fedvik stepped back, releasing his hold on his hair, Doxy's heart dropped. The redhead had been so close. He shook with goosebumps all over him. Charn's scent of fresh bread and rosemary filled his nose as the man helped himself to his arm, draping it over his shoulders. Fedvik situated himself under the other. His feet were off the ground. No one had carried him since he was a child. The men knocked into him with grunts and a rather colorful curse. Fedvik said with a huff, "Right, then left." "Right," Charn noted. "No, it's left." Doxy looked down at the men's feet to either side of him. "My right?" "We all have the same right," Fedvik cried, running his free hand over his face. "Just stop. Stop." Fedvik glared past Doxy's face into a widely grinning Charn 2 steps ahead, pulling him and Doxy along. "Right," Fedvik stated, like he was Harry giving orders. "Left." An order, and Charn hummed a little to himself, but stayed in stride. Without another hiccup, they reached the barracks and stopped at the bottom of the narrow wooden staircase and the 3 sharp turns. Half of the banisters were missing, and there were 4 steps missing too. "Who was supposed to fix these?" Fedvik asked. Charn lifted a shoulder, jostling both of the other men. Doxy swallowed. nerves tingling at the idea of being carried up the precarious stairs. He alone made them creak and groan as if the entire structure would collapse under him. How about I use the wall and the banister to get myself up? His voice sounded as high as Charn's in his ears. And fall to your death as the banister cracks. Not on my watch, Fedvik straightened. Charn, you first. That means you'll have to take on most of his weight until I can pull him. And don't you want to have energy to pet your little mate once we get him tucked in? Fedvik asked. And will I have enough energy after pulling him up all those stairs anyway? Yes, I'm not as out of shape as you, Charn the cook. The way Charn snorted had Doxy thinking it was about to become a challenge between the two. So, hey guys, let's just try it and see. I mean, I can do it myself, but you both refuse to let me and do anything by myself with this knee, and I'm grateful, don't get me wrong, but I'm not so sure those stairs are going to take all three of us anyway. Are you? Breathe. Charn peered into Doxy's face. Fedvik chuckled and shook his head. It's adorable when you ramble. He pushed Charn's face away from Doxy's. Charn snorted into Fedvik's palm. Fedvik hissed. Gods, what's wrong with you? He wiped his palm off on Doxy's shirt. Hey, Doxy cried. That's gross. His body lifted and his stomach left him. His brain rolled as if it was in a ball while all he could see was Fedvik's gleaming eyes. Then he was staring at his door. Fedvik breathing harder behind him, arms tight about his waist. Doxy noticed Charn was left behind due to the heavy footfalls and creaking stairs below them. Nausea churned his stomach, and a cold sweat popped out over his body. He shuddered. Fedvik pressed into him, the smooth wood of his door cool against his cheek and through his shirt. What was going on? Take in enough air to fill your lungs. Don't pass out on me, Dox. Fedvik's lips brushed the shell of his ear. The shock of the redhead's body pressing him against a solid surface, the sensuous lips he dreamed about touching his bare flesh, made his lungs fill completely. There it is. That's my good boy. Doxy's entire body thrilled like lightning. Good boy. Fedvik thought he was a good boy. He grinned, closing his eyes and willing the nausea down with his next large breath in. Did you already fuck him? Charn asked at the last step before joining them in the hall. Never seen that kind of grin on him. I can only speed through one thing at a time, and fucking is not something I rush. Doxy noticed something brush against his lower lip. He didn't care at the moment. Fedvik pressed good against him. His door was nice and cool, and his knee was going to kill him with pain. Nothing else mattered. It is a pleasant face. You think that's the expression he makes after sex? Only one way to find out, Vic. What were they talking about? Knee, right. It's fine. I'm fine. I need my leg cut off. Don't be so dramatic, Fedvik said with a chuckle. I'll see if I don't have any pain powders left. Tim went into the city, Charn revealed as his footsteps got further away. The door gave way before him. Pain shot up his knee before it threatened to buckle, but Fedvik held him steady, leaning him back against the lithe body. Could one get drunk from touch? Words? He didn't have the energy to open his eyes. You've got to work with me a little bit, Dox, Fedvik grunted as he shifted them both into the room. Hold on to me or something. Doxy warmed with every touch as Fedvik slid around him. He lifted his arms, the hard sides against his wrists, until he hugged Fedvik to him. He nuzzled the man's neck. Fedvik had a spice about his scent, something only he had, and it was strong. Gods of fucking... Why now? Fedvik asked with a groan. Why what? Fedvik answered. You're being all adorable and... He gasped as Fedvik pushed. He fell back, his eyes flying open to peer into the serene face of the sex god among them. His bed caught him, the thick tick mattress bouncing him before letting him settle into its warmth. His mind was sluggish. His thoughts were worse. He reached for Fedvik. He stared up into the man's metallic gaze as the red hair fell around their faces. No magic for you, Doxy whimpered, utterly saddened by Fedvik's announcement. But I want it. Magic stick. And with that, I'm walking back out the door, Charn chimed in, two small packets held in one hand as he shook his head just inside the threshold. You have fun with your magic stick, Doxy Poo. He dropped the packets on the dresser and closed the door behind him. Doxy let the curtain of red fall back down. When had he lifted it to watch Charn? He couldn't remember. But Fedvik was so close. His face was so beautiful. He giggled as he remembered what Charn called him. Doxy Poo. Fedvik's hair was so soft. Was it even hair? He tugged it. The face above him shifted from beauty to downright sexual. The full lips parted, the mesmerizing eyes fluttered, and the sound that came from Fedvik's throat made Doxy's pants grow uncomfortable. He should take them off. The next chapter is a little bit dangerous for me to read, so we're not going to do that. All right, sated page 23, Rach says. Or possibly the surrounding scene. 28. So I'm going to read the chapter because 28 lands like right in the middle of it. And they have like a whole conversation. So, drink. So, chapter 8 is Curiouser and Curiouser. Liliana put a finger at her place and closed the thin book over it. Rix? What do feathered elves look like? Feathery. She rolled her eyes. She should have saw that one coming. Seriously. They are very feathery. Lily bit the inside of her cheek to keep from flailing or yelling or whatever it was she should do to get Rix to answer her properly. She tried pinpointing where they were in her room. What was Rix? She didn't even know that. Play a game with me. We ask each other questions and we must give truthful answers. Let's do 100 questions. Lily set up on her chase. No. Rix, please? She wasn't about to let them deflate her fun again. Then we will ask each other 50 questions. Not going to happen. They were over by the fireplace again. Perhaps that was Rix's favorite spot in this house. Were they always cold? 25? 5. No, that won't last at all. 25. There was a long pause before Rix materialized in the seat beside her. They sprawled as if they owned the chair, weapons still attached and all. How were they not uncomfortable? 10, then. She growled their name. Fine. 25. I'll go first. What is it with you and curiosity? She snorted before she answered. Well, I don't have any experience with anything other than being locked up in a house or shut into a carriage. How else am I to learn? Good first question. Rix's mask stretched around their mouth, although I suppose you are doing what I would suggest. That was not my first question. When Rix shrugged, she sighed. Fine, go again. Why are you always buying new dresses when we sneak out? How else am I supposed to keep up with the fashion trends? All I get are hand-me-downs and whatever they find on clearance that fits me. Another very delicate question. I assume as a lady of your status, you should buy new dresses. Rix, stop tricking me. I have done nothing of the sort. It makes sense as to why you buy dresses now. Again, their masks stretched widely about their mouth, nearly forming into their grinning lips. As for my third question, you choose when to break the rules, but why don't you do what you want to do all the time? She pinched her tongue between her front teeth. Lily had to be careful answering so she wouldn't have more questions taken from her. Because I know that eventually my freedoms will be cut more if I continuously disobey every day. The mask grew slack, as if Rix was disappointed that they didn't trick her again. For my first question, since the other three were stolen from me, what is your heritage? Rix's eyes narrowed in the shadow of their mask. That's a broad question. Indeed, you must answer truthfully. Lily felt sure of herself on this one. She had to get more information about Rix this way. Then again, she thought back to the other times they played this game and she still had nothing. I am half one thing and half another, with neither being known well by others. Our mysteries are our heritage. Damn it, Lily sighed. You have to give me more than that. I answered the question, did I not? Rix tilted their head to the side. Yes, she had to give them that. How could she phrase the next question to not get a non answer? What do you think your heritage is? Liliana's heart dropped. She didn't know. Nothing at all, other than Harry was her true family. Maybe. I am someone that needs to be kept safe from someone or something. Rix nodded and waited. Who are you protecting me from? Yourself. That answer was far too quick. That's not true. Answer again. It is true, and I prove it every day I allow you to sneak out. Rix turned sideways in the chair and stared up at the ceiling. If you could have the life you wanted, what would it be like? Oh, so now they were getting deep. She rubbed her temples as she tried to give Rix the best scenario. She thought of too many in her sheltered life to love only one. I would live in the capital, in a house, not a mansion. I would have you there still, unmasked. She eyed them on the last part, then continued. I would have animals, a dog and a horse, definitely. I would invite everyone over all the time and go to parties others throw too. It would be free. I would be free. She let that sit between them for a moment. Do you like watching over me other than the money? Rix huffed a breath as they answered, Yes, Lily. I enjoy being your guard. You keep things interesting. They took out a small blade from somewhere inside their shirt. Rix began picking things out of their nails with the point. Would you rather have another guard you? No, Lily answered hurriedly. She could think of another person being at her side through all of this. She couldn't think of another person being at her side through all of this. Rix had seen her at her absolute worst and had pushed for her to be her best, too. She doubted anyone else would do that. Where did Uncle Harry hire you? Rix stopped for a moment, then tapped the flat of the blade with their fingertips. What is now known as the capital. You were nearly a year old, I think. Might have been 6 months. Has Sir Harry made good on his promise to tell you what he keeps secret? No, not at all. You know that. Lily watched Rix nod. She pulled another of the several questions whirling in her mind to ask, What is my real last name? Try again. Lily gritted her teeth. Who of my aunts and uncles are my true family members? Rix continued their cleaning of their nails. There are two who are blood related to you. That is all I can say. Which house do you prefer to live in out of the ones we've stayed at? With a shake of her head, she answered, None of them really hold anything dear to me. My good memories are not tied to the place, but to the people. She was about to ask another question when her mother's maid called her from downstairs. She looked over, and Rix had already faded into the shadows they loved. We will continue this. Nope, we will not. So there's Rix that I have mentioned a little bit here and there. Need a lot more of them in this book. You'll get even more of them in the fourth book in the other series. Let me go back to that where I stumbled. So go ahead and edit that. There we go. There it is. All right. Any other requests? So let's see. The surrounding scenes. Interesting. Yeah. Um, Lily knows very little of the world. She doesn't even know Rick's face. Really, Rick's keeps covered like all over, all the time, and she doesn't even really know Rick's age. She just knows that they are older than her. She doesn't even know if Rick's is male or female or something in between, or if they claim a sex or not. So yeah, Rick's is very, very, very secretive and very, very tricky to get to talking. But he can easily get jealous, or they can easily get jealous. All right. So I am going to read a part of a chapter. This is from chapter 18, Story Time with Fedvik. Thank you, Kay. I hope you have a good day. All right, so this is the little first portion of chapter 18. He sighed, raking his hands through his hair. Haven't I told you this already? Only to raise a brow when Doxy shook his head. Odd. He picked a starting point that wouldn't take too long to explain. I was born in a village on the border, and only took jobs near it. During the war, I was paid to be entertainment for a few outposts. It was good money, sometimes better than what lords paid to educate their lovers. One night, I woke from a dead sleep, as hot as if I was on fire and hearing screams. There was nothing there. The outpost was quiet, cold. I thought it was my village. I grabbed whatever clothes were near and ran across the ridge that was between me and my people, my family. His jaw ticked as he remembered that night. He got his bearings, calmed himself by changing his stare from the tree to the flowing, bubbling creek. It took me 2 days instead of 5 because I didn't stop. My magic was practically drained. I used it so much. When I arrived, my village was smoking ashes. The men responsible were dicks deep in whatever women they saved, drunk off of our wines, and lazing about in their camp like they hadn't a worry in the world. I wanted to give them nightmares. I wanted to burn them alive. He had a twisted smile. The jacket I stole had 2 daggers in it. Before I could think, I ran into the middle of that camp, slashing at everything and everyone. It wasn't long before someone pinned me down because they cut my leg. They took one of those daggers and held it to my throat. I was going to be dead soon. They'd do stuff to me first, of course. Fedvik lifted a shoulder, knowing it was normal conqueror behavior. The sun had set. I swore thunder roared in from the east, but it was Regis, Slaith, and Bertrand. I watched those 3 come in as if they owned the place. Regis just walked out of his saddle while his horse was still at full gallop, stepped on a guy's helmet and crushed it under his boot heel as he slid his sword into the neck of another and twisted his wrist to pop off the enemy's head like it was straw. Bertrand grabbed another up and used the body like a mace. Slaith, I couldn't see him for the blood spray. Fedvik chuckled at how ridiculous his thoughts were as a kid. I thought those men were gods arriving to avenge the grandmothers of my home. Here he slid his gaze back to Doxy. Bertrand found me, lifted me off the ground like I was nothing, even though I wasn't much smaller than I am now. Regis was right there, in my face. blood pouring off him like he was standing in the rain. Bertrand told him I'd killed 8. I was unaware I killed that many. I still think Bertrand added a few of his own kills to mine. Regis ripped the patch off the jacket, thinking I was infantry, and said I belonged to him. He gave Doxy a knowing glance, and here I am. He watched Doxy take it all in, those eyes of his thoughtful under that mop of hair that kept falling in his face. What he didn't expect was the smile, a smile coupled with a teasing glint that was so rare for the younger man, because as the new member, he was always the one at the brunt of their comedic relief. You realize now that they're not gods, right? His smile was small, but his eyes let slip his humor. Fedvik couldn't help himself. He threw back his head and laughed. After a few more chuckles, he rounded on Doxy. When the man didn't step away, didn't turn his head, didn't flinch, Fedvik didn't stop until he could bathe in the heat of Doxy's body. Do I? What makes you think they didn't make me a god? I don't. You were probably a god before them. That's another one. Fedvik needs to, tell all the stories. All of them. He's a good storyteller. The rest of them don't really. I mean, Harry kind of is, but Regis doesn't really care if people know what he does or not. Neither does Slaith or Bertrand. The only thing Bertrand loves is torturing other people. So this is a little bit from chapter 25, Bait and Tackle. And this is from My Husband Wants to Keep Me Gay. Why did all of them have red hair? No, not all of them. Doxy followed the path of a blonde and then a white-haired man. The woman whose eyes flashed gold as she healed him was salt and pepper-haired. Another woman kept staring at him from the corner of the healing house. She had red hair. She leaned against a wooden beam beside a large opening that let the sunlight and breeze in. The rolled canvas closure swung gently, tapping the posts it hung between. He turned, thinking that maybe it wasn't him she was staring at. The healer grunted, smacking his cheek and then turning him back to her. Ouch, Doxy said softly, reaching up with his good hand to rub the slap away. Whatever drug they had given him was making him warm all over. Not an ounce of pain. Anywhere. He knows of our son, the woman against the post finally said. The healer answered with another grunt. Doxy looked between the two women. Your son? He hoped he hadn't killed someone he wasn't supposed to. Then again, why would a member of the village harassed by the thieves be stealing from them? Frederick de Lorraine Gavanche, the healer spoke, son of Gachent. Oh, him. I want him so badly, but he doesn't care at all. Doxy groaned, falling back on the cot. That doesn't sound like him. Doxy watched the healer and the other woman share a glance. It is him. He teases me and gets me hard and then goes. Poof, gone. He grinned as Slaith entered. Slaith's eyes narrowed, then he sighed. You had to give him that, grandmothers? He smelled a Fedvik blood elf. Slaith sniffed. How you can smell a 3 days old scent has always impressed me. He eyed the healer just as she eyed him, then added as if to sate her, Let's call it 2 fools in love. Then we shall push Fedvik along. Send for him. Tell him the boy is near death. Oh, I like her. Can I hug you? He reached for both the healer and Slaith. Slaith shook his head. Next time, put him to sleep. I think you're right. You need a line of bardic retellings. Great marketing. It would be. I like that idea. I might do that. Maybe as he's settling down with Doxy, he learns to, well, he knows a couple of musical instruments, so he starts playing and telling stories at the same time. All right. So this will be the last one that I read, unless y'all request something again. But, and you have all the books to choose from. Hell, you can even choose something from my wife wants to keep me creamed if you want. I can pull it up. It's not very big, very long, whatever. All right, so chapter 29, The First Son of Gachant. Year of survival of Bertrand training 24 years ago. Less one night and a tyrant. None of the others were hurt, and Fedvik cursed himself. Slaith examined him, pulling his leather shirt up and prodding at the slice over his ribs. Nothing broke. Genius, Fedvik muttered, then played dumb, trying his sweetest smile and batting his eyelashes at the elder. Slaith pulled a swath of white cotton out of the small pack Bertrand carried on his left thigh. He pressed it across the cut. Hold. Fedvik did as he was told, then hissed as Slaith's quick movements wrapped the cloth around him and pulled his ribs together. I don't need a corset. But it brings out your figure, Slaith mimicked Fedvik's voice rather poorly before ripping the cloth with his teeth and tying it off with the other end. You girls done? We have a king's army to kill. Fedvik glared up at Bertrand. He definitely hated the man more than he liked him. With 5? 4. You two little ones barely count as half each, Bertrand again. Don't. Fedvik shook his head at Harry when the redhead snorted. Of course, the prince didn't listen. Harry pointed at the old man with his whip. Here I thought you were counting yourself as half and the blood elf the other, considering your ages. The grins of the old male sported made Fedvik shiver from head to toe. Tell you what, Prince, Slaith began, tucking the roll of cloth back into Bertrand's bag. If you kill more than any of the rest of us, I'll give you a prize. What's the prize? You and your lover here get 2 days off after this. Harry frowned. That's hardly anything. Take it! Fedvik hissed, launching himself close to grab Harry's arm. Days off are better than a bag of gold. 2 days off and a bag of gold each. Slaith chuckled. Done. Regis stood, swinging his sword to stretch each of his arms out. I suppose we should begin. The men trickled out of the room. Fedvik held Harry back with him to take up the rear. Do you realize what you just did? Harry lifted a shoulder, killed a king, his royal guard, and made a bet with an old man. Besides that, you announced you were going to kill at least a third of the army waiting for us. Harry laughed. A third? I only had to kill 50 at best. Fedvik groaned and pinched the bridge of his nose. I swear, if I have to start training over again because of your mouth, I'll cut your tongue out. You'll miss it more than me. He canted his head to the side, thinking of the things he taught Harry, then sighed. Right. He thought of another punishment. I'll keep my tongue from you. Harry stopped walking, his eyes slightly wider than normal. He cleared his throat. A third, you said? A third. As they spoke, the men before them peeled off to the side, letting them go in front. Fuck. Fedvik muttered to himself, pulling his sword off his back after unsheathing a dagger. 2 weapons, double the kills, right? He hoped. Fedvik put his back to the wall before the wide opening that was the staircase leading down to the largest room of the castle, the foyer formerly used as a ballroom. He peered around the corner, cursing when he had to jerk back as arrows thunked into the wall beside his head. Any day now, Regis said dryly behind him. Fedvik muttered more curses under his breath, trying to think of how he should do this. He took too long. The Baron, in 2 long strides, put his hand on the banister and leapt over it in one graceful move that Fedvik admired before he realized Regis would be dead before his feet hit the floor. He rushed forward in time to see arrows bouncing off the broadsword Regis held in front of him. The Lord's feet hit, the sword slashed in a half moon through the air, followed by crunching bones and the spurt of blood. Not Witkin, a god, Fevik thought to himself before falling back as pain ripped through his arm. He cursed, breaking off the shaft of the arrow. He was thankful the head came out the other side. He watched Harry step over him, whips in each hand, lashing out, followed by screams. His lover walked down that staircase as if he were debuting at a ball. Well, with whips and screams and blood and can't you get through one room without being wounded, boy? Slaith glared as he placed a large hand on his shoulder. The elder elf yanked out the arrow. Then he moved on. Guards running up the stairs turned pale before the blood erupted from their mouths and eyes and flowed toward Slaith like strings. He started up, then Bertrand was on him, wrapping more bandage around him, tying a tight knot over the wound in his arm. Next time, use that speed, create a diversion. Form up. Fedvik followed Harry, Slaith, and Bertrand down the stairs, thankful he still had his dominant hand and sword. The dagger's weight hurt, but he hoped he could manage. Regis swung again, 2 soldiers flying up to smack against the wall above his head wetly. He didn't take the time to watch them fall to the floor. Regis had cleared a path to the bottom of the stairs and took his position. His sword swung from side to side, then arced up, and then back to the right. The crunch of metal, the screams of men, the thunder of boots on stone was deafening. Slaith and Bertrand were behind Regis, fanned out like a wide-based triangle, to give Regis plenty of room to swing and move. Fedvik made the end of the diamond shape, taking care of any leftovers or those that circled around behind the men up front. Harry waded to the middle of the room, driving the enemy to them with whiplashes that popped faster than Fedvik could count. Damn that boy, Slaith hissed, pulling the blood out of one soldier and drowning another with it, only to repeat the process. What? Bertrand asked, glancing back for a second before smashing the heads of 2 soldiers together, crushing them with a sickening wet crunch. He's driving them to us. And what we kill are his kills too. Fedvik grinned. Told you would like him. Like is such a strong word, Regis growled, carving a path out of the ranks, filling the ballroom from the open double doors ahead. Each step he took, they followed. Fedvik, for the 3rd time, marveled at the number of bodies behind them. Why do I doubt you 3 could kill an entire army? 4, now 5, boy. Regis roared. The 2 eldest shoved Fedvik forward into Regis's position and pulled Regis to the back. 2 blades stuck out from the Baron, one in his right shoulder and one in his left thigh. Fedvik sheathed his other dagger and began swinging his sword with both hands in swaths, making sure to twist slightly up or down to gain access to the neck or bellies. He was doing it. He was holding the formation. Pride entered Fedvik, even as pain attempted to make him surrender. Then Regis was beside him, back into formation. Fedvik stared, taking a step back. The blades were broken, the metal barely sticking out of Regis's body. He glanced over to Bertrand. The old man was dripping with sweat and huffing. I am exceedingly glad that I am not your enemy, Harry yelled over the din. Never thought I'd see anyone break swords. Had Bertrand broken them with his bare hands? Fedvik shook his head, focusing on the task at hand as he took up his spot at the rear again. He angled his head, observing Regis's swing. He noticed its diminished speed. Perhaps he was half-god? Then Regis went down on one knee, his growling war cry echoing through the chamber over the screams. Fedvik turned, ready to take the head position back again, when he noticed there were men fleeing from the doors, trying to give them a wide berth as they kept running. He started to follow, to kill those cowards, but Slaith put a hand on his shoulder. Not our problem anymore, boy. Fedvik shook his head. How is it? 3 men in silver armor entered, swords bloodied. then one in white armor with a blood-red cape. Slaith and Bertrand dipped to one knee on each side of Regis. Fedvik hurried to do the same. I must say, I wasn't expecting to have such little resistance when taking a country. The king's voice rang out, youthful and jubilant. I commend you, Baron, or should I say Duke? Yes, Duke Regis Norvasos. This victory is all thanks to you. Fedvik stared as the king touched Regis's shoulders with his bare hands, then placed fingertips on the baron's forehead as he spoke. The king then turned. Healers? Ah, payment, the king stated with a smile as the healers scurried in, took one glance at Regis, gasped, and quickly began their work. With a flick of his wrist, 5 men came in carrying 2 black sacks each, all nearly scraping the ground with their thick bottoms. The sacks clanked when the group set them down in front of the 5 of them. Fedvik stared into the slight opening of one of his breath catching at the shining gold coins within. This is how I will rebuild the village, son. This is how you can rebuild 10. Slaith chuckled, pounding his back. All right. So yeah. My Husband Wants to Keep Me Gay is available. Links in the description box or in the chat. Feel free to click on them and explore. There's also links to purchase My Husband Wants to Keep Me Pristine and My Husband Wants to Keep Me Dominant, which are the first 2 books in the series. And My Husband Wants to Keep Me Sated will be available August-ish, September-ish, somewhere around in there, hopefully. And that will complete this part of the series until I continue it with the My Wife Wants series, which will star the remainder of the Palm siblings, which are the 3 brothers, Percy, Matthias, and Selick, and also Rix. So, yeah. Thank you for joining me. It's been a lot of fun writing this series, as y'all know. Not quite yet. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that with my website because I use Tertulia for Authors and they just implemented the direct sales portion of it. So I'm going to work on that hopefully this week, but I'm still catching up on everything else. But yeah, I sell directly at my shows. Did have a signing yesterday, and unfortunately, we didn't have very many people show up, but it was free for me to do, so it wasn't like I really lost anything except for time. But I did sell 1 book and a couple of, my random stickers that I have. So yeah, it was all right. I think that's going to be about it. Artwork is coming for the rest of the characters. I have Regis, which I showed y'all a month or 2 ago, I do believe. And Harry is done. I just got to order prints and a bookmark with him. And Versen will be next. She's working on her. As soon as her power and fever go down, Versen will probably be done too. And then Adeline will be after that one. And then Fedvik and Doxy, and then Charn and Lily. So yeah, it's a full crowd. I still have to decide what other 2 characters I want her to do, because I like the idea of her doing all of one series and then just 2 others of one of my others. Maybe I'll get her to do Nita and Jasper next, since that's a standalone. No, it'll probably be Nita and Jasper. So yeah. All right. That's all I got for you today. Happy Father's Day and happy summer solstice. And remember that there is a Hot Character Summer Challenge going on. Check out the video on my channel. The link is down below to the spreadsheet that will prompt you to make your own compy so that you can set your own goals and everything if you want, or keep the 92,000 that I'm doing. I have added some pictures of my hot characters to my spreadsheet, so maybe you can do that to yours as well. That way they're sitting there staring at you, making sure that they get written. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed the My Husband Wants series thus far. We have one more to go and we will be done with it for a little while. Again, thank you. And I will see you tomorrow for my usual live stream at 3 p.m. Eastern. Bye.